Welcome back to the CSS tutorial series. In this video, we'll look at 3 ways we can include CSS in a web page: inline, internal, and using an external style sheet. Let's start with inline styles. Inline styles refers to the practice of applying CSS styles directly in an HTML element. It's used to apply a style to a single HTML element, since you're adding the CSS as a value of the single element style attribute. I should mention that the inline style is not a best practice when writing CSS, and as this web page indicates, it should be used sparingly. That being said, I'll show you an example of how to apply inline styles, hopefully demonstrating the reason that we should not use them. To get started, I'll open the development folder I showed you how to create in the HTML tutorial series. Then I'll create a new folder named Tutorials. I'll then drag this folder to the VS Code icon on my dock to launch Visual Studio Code in this folder. I'll close the Get Started page, then create a new page called index.html. And I'll paste in some HTML to get us started. If this code doesn't look familiar to you, I recommend reviewing the videos in my HTML 101 playlist in this channel. Before adding CSS to our web page, it's important to ensure that our HTML is written in proper syntax. To do this, I'll highlight the code in our file, copy it, then head over to the new HTML checker website. I'll select Check by Text Input and replace the default text with the code we copied from our page. Then I'll click the check button and validate that our HTML is written in proper syntax. Now we could start adding CSS to our web page. As we did in the HTML tutorial series, we could select the index.html file, right-click it, and then choose Open with Live Server to see what our web page currently looks like. If we go back to the inline CSS page on W3 Schools, we'll see an example of how to apply inline styles. Here, there's an H1 element that has a style attribute with the value of color set to blue and the text align property set to center. If I copy this style, then go back to our code and add it to my H1 element, save the file, then go back to Live Server, we'll see that our H1 element is now blue and centered on the page. Going back to the example, this paragraph tag has a style attribute with color attribute set to red. If we copy this and go back to our code, paste this into the H2, save the page, go back to the browser, we'll see that our H2 element is now red. Let's add a final style to both of our paragraph tags. We'll set the color to green, save the page, then go back to the browser and see our styles have been applied. Now, although this is pretty neat, we were able to easily apply some styles to some HTML elements to change the color, and in case of the H1, we set the text align property to center. We start to see the issue with using inline styles. Now on this page, we only have 2 paragraph tags, and they both have a font color set to green. Now, what if I wanted to change the style of both of those paragraph tags? Say, to have a background color of navy blue and a font color of yellow. Well, I have to go into the style attribute of each of the paragraph tags and change their value. Save the page, go back to the browser, and we see the styles applied. Now, that wasn't too bad because we only had 2 paragraph tags in a single web page. But what if this was a very large web page and we had 20 paragraph tags? We'd have to change that style attribute in each of the individual elements. And what if we had multiple web pages on our website and we wanted the paragraphs on all of those pages to have this style? We'd have to go into each of the web pages, find each of the paragraph tags, and change the value of the style. This is the reason that using inline styles is not preferred and not a best practice. In the next video, we'll look at using internal styles, which is a step in the right direction.